If you think you know everything about Ninja Gaiden 4, get ready to be surprised. Today I'm going to reveal 5 things that went unnoticed, and that could totally change your view of the game. Look, for me, this is the cornerstone of everything. If Team Ninja introduces a new protagonist, the first thing that crosses my mind isn't, who is he? But why isn't he Ryu? The simple idea that Yakumo was designed from the beginning to be a fundamentally different experience is what makes me believe a sequel can work. A substitute would be a catastrophic mistake, resulting in a character who would live forever in the shadow of the Dragon Ninja, being called a generic Ryu. We need to understand the weight of Ryu Hayabusa. He's not just a character. He's an archetype of power and perfection in combat. His moves are iconic. His presence is imposing. Creating a new character requires the courage to break that mold. Yakumo has his own animations, strike cadence, and a rhythm all his own. Yakumo is less about brute force and more about predatory agility, with a focus on weapons Ryu would rarely use as his mains. This reverberates throughout the game's entire design philosophy. The levels are built around Yakumo's abilities. The enemies are designed to challenge his fighting style, not Ryu's. If he's faster and less resilient, for example, the game would need more enemies that try to overwhelm him with area of effect attacks, forcing the player to use Yakumo's superior mobility to control space, instead of simply blocking and counterattacking as we would with Ryu. The narrative also benefits immensely from this. A substitute would inherit Ryu's problems and history. An original character brings a blank slate. His motivations are more personal, more gray. He doesn't have to carry the burden of saving the world for the umpteenth time. Maybe his journey is about revenge, redemption, or simply survival in a world that sees him as a threat. This opens up a range of possibilities for a darker, more introspective tone. The biggest risk here is the execution. It's easy to talk about making a different character, but it's hard to get it right. The Ninja Gaiden community is extremely loyal to Ryu. Any slip-up, any moment where Yakumo seems like an inferior or poorly conceived version of the original, and the rejection will be immediate and brutal. The pressure on the developers to deliver a charismatic and mechanically unique character is immense. The first time I read this, I confess my brain tied itself in a knot. Ninja Gaiden and stealth? The series that is the personification of frontal combat, frenetic action, and rewarded aggression, now with stealth elements. My initial reaction was pure skepticism. It seemed like an attempt to westernize the formula, to add a trendy mechanic that doesn't belong to the franchise's essence. However, after thinking about it for a bit, my perspective changed. The question isn't whether there should be stealth, but how it's implemented. If stealth were a mandatory slow and punishing section where being detected means instant failure, it would be a disaster. That would break the breakneck pace that is the series' trademark and would frustrate the entire fanbase. Nobody wants to play a poorly made version of Tenchu inside Ninja Gaiden. Where the idea becomes brilliant is if stealth is a tactical tool, an option to start combat in your favor. Picture the scene. You arrive in an area with 5 elite enemies. With Ryu, the approach would be to jump into the middle and let the sword sing. With Yakumo, you can use the environment to scale a wall, silently eliminate the most dangerous enemy with a brutal and stylish assassination animation, and only then start open combat against the remaining 4. This adds a layer of strategy and planning that the series has never had. It stops being just about reaction and reflexes and also becomes about observation and positioning. Stealth here isn't about avoiding combat, but about controlling how it begins. It would be an expression of power, the feeling of being a predator, a ninja in his purest essence who chooses the time and place of battle. Mechanically, this creates a new gameplay flow. The cycle would be observe, plan, execute the first kill, the alpha strike, and then fluidly and instantly transition to the high-speed combat characteristic of the series. The assassination animation could already position you advantageously for the next enemy, maintaining the fast pace. Narratively, it makes perfect sense for a ninja who might not have the divine strength of a Hayabusa. Yakumo might be a more pragmatic assassin. He doesn't fight for honor or to test his skills. He fights to win in the most efficient way possible. Stealth is a manifestation of this personality, intelligent, calculating, and deadly. He is not a warrior. He is a hunter. Ultimately, my opinion is that a stealth system, if it becomes an offensive and optional tool in this way, would be a natural and brilliant evolution for the series. It wouldn't replace combat, but would complement it, giving more depth to the gameplay and reinforcing the fantasy of being a lethal ninja. It will be a way to modernize the franchise without sacrificing its soul. This is, without a doubt, the most controversial point on the list. Talking about adaptive difficulty in Ninja Gaiden is almost heresy for the most purist fans. The series built its identity on a brutal, uncompromising, and, above all, fixed difficulty. The fun was hitting a wall, bashing your face against it dozens of times until, through pure repetition and skill improvement, you finally managed to overcome it. The sense of mastery was absolute. A difficulty that dynamically adjusts to the player seems to go against all of that. The immediate concern is that the game will go easy on those who are struggling, robbing them of that sense of accomplishment. Or the opposite, that it becomes artificially harder for those who are playing well, punishing the player for their own competence. Both possibilities sound like something that would dilute the root Ninja Gaiden experience. Adaptive difficulty doesn't just mean less health for enemies or more damage for the player. It's much more subtle. Imagine a system where if you're getting through too easily, enemies not only get stronger, but they start using new attack patterns, become more aggressive, coordinate their group tactics better, and counterattack windows shrink. On the other hand, if the player is dying repeatedly in the same section, the system could, for example, ensure the next healing item appears a bit sooner, or maybe one of the enemies in the group uses a specific attack less frequently. The change wouldn't be to make the game easy, but to alleviate a specific point of frustration, allowing the player to learn the pattern and progress while keeping the overall challenge high. The secret to this being revolutionary and not destructive is transparency. The game can't feel arbitrary. The player needs to feel that the challenge is fair. Perhaps the best approach would be to offer distinct modes at the beginning. A classic mode, with the fixed and brutal difficulty that veterans love, and an adaptive mode, which uses this new system. This would please both audiences, the old and the new. For me, the existence of this adaptive system is an acknowledgement that the industry has changed. Keeping difficulty as an insurmountable entry barrier can limit the franchise's reach. A well-implemented system could create a smoother learning curve, guiding the new player until they are ready for the most insane challenges, instead of just throwing them to the lions from the first minute. Although the risk of alienating the fan base is huge, the idea of an adaptive difficulty in Ninja Gaiden is not inherently bad. If it is executed carefully, focusing on varying enemy behavior instead of just messing with damage numbers, and if it's optional, it could be the bridge the series needs to bring in a new generation of players without forgetting those who made it a legend. The developers at Team Ninja and Platinum Games have chosen to integrate the essence of a frantic and devastating attack directly into the game's main combat system, making it an accessible yet situational tactical tool for the player. This design decision focuses on maintaining a continuous combat flow without abrupt interruptions to activate a separate mode, allowing rage to be a resource managed in real time. The materialization of this design philosophy is centered on the new protagonist, Yakumo. He has been granted a specific ability called Blood Raven Strikes. These are not common attacks, but special moves that can be charged, imbuing them with a berserk-style energy. The charging mechanic is a crucial element, as it introduces a risk-reward component. The player needs to find a window of opportunity during combat to charge the move, potentially becoming vulnerable in that interval to then unleash a high-impact attack. When a Blood Raven Strike is successfully executed after being fully charged, its effect on the battlefield is significant. The ability not only momentarily amplifies Yakumo's offensive capabilities, but is also capable of instantly eliminating most small or medium-sized enemies. To underline the brutality and strength of this moment, the game uses distinct visual feedback. The finishing screen of the move acquires a reddish hue, serving as a visual punctuation for the successful execution of a high-caliber maneuver. This approach transforms the berserk mechanic into a constant strategic decision. Instead of being a panic button or a superpower that activates after filling a bar, the Blood Raven Strikes require the player to read the battlefield, understand enemy attack patterns, and manage space to create the opportunity to charge the attack. This adds a layer of tactical depth to the combat, encouraging a playstyle that alternates between precise defense, evasion, and preparation for an overwhelming offensive, something characteristic of high-difficulty action games. The presence of the iconic Ryu Hayabusa as a second playable character adds a layer of expectation and mystery. While Yakumo is introduced with this new berserk mechanic as a pillar of his fighting style, no details have yet been released on how the legendary ninja will behave in Ninja Gaiden 4. It remains to be seen whether he will have access to a variation of the Blood Raven Strikes, if he will have his own set of distinct special abilities, or if his gameplay will be more faithful to his previous appearances in the franchise, offering a more traditional counterpart to the new protagonist. The collaboration between Team Ninja, master of the series' precise and challenging combat, and Platinum Games, known for its stylized and fast-paced action, is a point of great interest. The integration of a mechanic like the Bloodraven Strikes seems to be a direct fruit of this union of talents, combining Team Ninja's technical difficulty with the visual extravagance and sense of power characteristic of Platinum Games. The way this and other mechanics will harmonize will be fundamental in defining the game's final identity. This last curiosity seems like a simple lore detail, but in my opinion, it's the most impactful of all. It's the key that unlocks the potential of all the others. The Hayabusa clan isn't just a family of ninjas. It's the gravitational center of the entire Ninja Gaiden universe. The Dragon Sword, the fight against the Archfiends, the relationships with characters like Momiji or Muramasa, everything is connected to this lineage. By creating a protagonist outside of this clan, the developers are, in practice, freeing themselves from decades of history and expectations. This is an immense act of courage. It's like making a Batman game where the protagonist isn't a Wayne. The change is seismic, and its implications are enormous for both the narrative and the gameplay. From a narrative standpoint, as I've already mentioned, Yakumo's motivations can be radically different. He doesn't have the duty to protect the world. His fight could be for selfish, personal reasons. This allows for a more human and perhaps more ambiguous story. Who are his allies? Who are his enemies? Without the structure of the Hayabusa clan, the game can create a new pantheon of characters with new dynamics and conflicts. It's in the gameplay that this change becomes even more exciting. Ryu's techniques are inheritances from his clan, like the Izuna drop. Yakumo wouldn't have access to them. This forces the development team to create a completely new arsenal of moves. His abilities, his spells, if he even has them, his finishing techniques, everything would come from another source, another school of combat. This reinforces the idea from point one. He's not a substitute, he is fundamentally something else. The Berserk mode makes even more sense in this context. It's not a dragon technique. It's something different, perhaps forbidden or of demonic origin. The weapons he uses might not be the sacred katanas, but cruder, more practical tools of assassination. His entire fighting style could be less honorable and more focused on deadly efficiency, which connects perfectly with the idea of stealth. This decision also revitalizes the game's world. Instead of fighting the same demons and rival ninja clans, we can explore a completely new underworld. Yakumo could be a former member of an assassin's organization, a mercenary, or the last survivor of a forgotten clan. The possibilities are endless and allow the franchise to explore new themes and aesthetics. In essence, disconnecting the protagonist from the Hayabusa clan is the decision that allows Ninja Gaiden 4 to be a true new beginning, and not just more of the same. It's what makes the existence of a stealth system, a berserk mode, and an adaptive difficulty possible. It's the final declaration that the team isn't afraid to take risks and to reinvent one of its most beloved franchises. Well, that was the video. I hope you liked it and see you next time.